a Dredfunn original production. Please sit back and enjoy.
Alright guys, Dredfunn here with another one of my Dredfunn draws. Today I'm going to do a quick little sketch. What you're going to need is a pencil and a couple different ink pens. I got these Micron 0503, and any pencil will do. I prefer just a cheap little 0.5 mechanical lead pencil. So we're going to draw Tyrannosaurus Rex today. They got big heads. What I like to do and what I've taught kids at the daycare is, in the after-school program I work at, is to use shapes that they recognize. So we're going to start with a big circle for the head area and bring that around and do kind of like the muzzle part here. One thing to note about Tyrannosaurus or Tyrannosaurus Rex is they've got like an S shape to their neck. So you kind of want it to sort of come down in here and kind of sort of go like that. And then they've got like a big thick body, so you want to add like another shape kind of like this. And you always want to make sure you're not working too hard with the paper. You want to leave things out, not get too pressure oriented or whatnot, basically rambling on. So you got some arms up front here, and then you're going to want to do the back leg. They've got a big sort of hind haunch there, and kind of like with dogs and cats and other animals, they kind of hang out on their toes. So you want to put that there and kind of back up on their feet. And then sort of from this angle kind of draw the back spot for that one. And then we got a tail. So we'll kind of bring the tail sort of wrapping around here. Boom. You got your sort of shape for a good T-Rex right there. Now, like I always say, you want to keep the pencil nice and light if you want. Keep an eraser by if you don't like anything. And some of these lines you're going to take out. For me, I'm going to leave it all in until I go ahead and ink it. They have big heads. The Tyrannosaurus are theropods from the Upper Cretaceous period. They existed around 68 to 66 million years ago. They're the last of the Tyrannosaurids. Basically, last of a lot of those dinosaurs. Existed right up to the suspected or hypothesized end. We don't know exactly how they end, but they're pretty sure that it was a big meteorite or some sort of mass cataclysm that ended the reign for them, and they only live on now in birds. Okay, so right away we're going to probably open up T-Rex's mouth, so we're going to put a little point where we want the eyes. They got binocular vision, so the eyes kind of almost like a human, but you kind of want to put them really small, even though they'd be like, I guess, that big on the creature. They're like 40 feet long, 12 feet tall, and 8.5 tons. Alright, so a little circle there to mark where the eye is going to go. Like I said, I'm going to open the mouth up, so I'm going to kind of go like this. And they have a unique shape to their face. I guess it's their face or their muzzle. So you want to, it kind of has like almost like an S curve to it as well. Comes back here. Do the same thing down here. And boom, it's got a really, really big head. And this part sort of falls back, and they got this there. Alright, so like I said, you want to keep things loose. Gonna sort of fill out the body part. Like I said, it's got an S curve to the neck, so the jaw kind of comes up in and around here. A lot like a crocodile. Now, as for whether or not we're going to put feathers on this creature or not, you can go either way. Like I said, scientists are saying that they believe most T-Rex has had some sort of protofeather. They only have 2 claws on the 2 small front forelimbs. They got an underbelly here, and this sort of flanges out underneath the leg, and then the tail, which is big and muscular and is used to sort of help counterbalance the creature. The back muscle, like a horse and like other animals, it's kind of big, thick, used for locomotion. and then it comes back here. I guess this would be the calf muscle on a human, and then this whole area here is actually the foot, even though it's not all on the ground. And then we got 3 toes, one in the front, one in the middle, and then sort of that one kind of a little bit off to the side. You're probably not even going to see it all that much. And they have claws. Boom. Couple quick little triangle shapes for claws. Then the back leg, you're only going to see a bit of it. I'm going to kind of put them so this creature's kind of somewhat pushing off on the toes. Again, 3 toes, 3 claws. Not too crazy. And boom, right there you got a nice basis for what you want to go with. It took us about 5 minutes, not too long. Now, again, like I said, I'm not going to add too many feathers. Maybe I'll put like a fringe or a mane up here. Scientists don't know. They've only got skin impressions from certain small parts of the creature. So really they don't know, but there's a pretty good chance that they are. I mean, Tyrannosaurus and a bunch of other ones have been shown to have feathers. So again, we're going to go back up here to the muzzle. These are going to be slightly darker lines. I'm just going to highlight where I'm going to go over with the ink pen. Again, the creature almost looks like it's got a smile to its face. And then this part comes down here. It's almost like a big hunk, a big chunk of muscle. And then there's this sort of side part of the mouth. And then the teeth, they're sort of backwards facing triangles. They're described kind of like steak knives, I guess, sort of. You can make them bigger, smaller, you know. Like I said, I'm going to try to keep these as accurate to what they look like as possible, and maybe throw a little tongue in there. Throw a little tongue in there with the dinosaur and get your minds out of the gutter. Anyways, the muzzle part sort of comes up. He's got a snot, or a schnoz right here, I guess. Snot would come out of it. And then, boom, up here. And again, this is sort of like where the skull kind of sort of sticks out. And a lot of times they'll have this sort of like it's sort of a concaved or impression area. This part would be shadowed. And then sort of like a ridge here. Much of the T-Rex skull is actually hollow. They've got a lot of hollow spots in it. A lot of dinosaurs did. They're big, big creatures, and even though they existed at a time when oxygen was different, they still, you know, weight was an issue. So any way you can sort of get rid of it is a good thing. Like I said, this is going to be a quick sketch. We're not going to be focusing too much on detail. Again, I'm going to put a little dot there for the eye. Then we're going to come around here and darken up where it is. I'm going to follow the neckline. Right away, I think I'm going to make the neck a little thicker. There we go. Do this back tail. And I don't know if the creature ran. Scientists are on the fence again with all that. That's the cool thing about dinosaurs and all that stuff. I mean, things that you think are set in stone, you find out many years later are obsolete, and we have more information to draw upon. So the T-Rex of my childhood does not resemble the T-Rex that we think exists nowadays. Now most of them have like a kind of like a tendon or a muscle that sort of goes under there. And again, they're going to have quadricep type muscles. They're similar like us because we're all tetrapods, so it's a similar body plan, just it would be slightly different. And then again, a lot of guys and a lot of artists and graphic designers will sort of have these sort of waddle things there. So boom, you got yourself something that you can work with, a nice little pencil drawing that sort of shows you exactly what a T-Rex is going to look like. Then what you can do is go in and like I said, a few areas here I'm going to add some spots that I'm going to go in and sort of do some webbing with the inking. As I said, when I do pencils like this, I like to really, you know, do them loose. Very different if I was going to do this in a realistic pencil drawing. None of these lines would be laid out like this. It would be very detailed, very focused, very measured. But for this particular activity, which I've done for, gosh, a wide number of children have drawn with me, and I've learned how to draw dinosaurs over the years. So this is kind of the way I approach it. Now I'm going to break out the ink pens. My number 3 is the thicker one. I'm going to use that to pretty much thicken all these lines. And again, I'm keeping in mind when I'm inking over my pencils that some of these things I'm going to keep for sure, and others I'm going to add some stuff or take away, change the position, whatever the case may be. You can go back and forth like you do with the pencil, but for me, when it comes to doing it this way, I like to this is the way I like to do it. Sort of get the lines down, come under here for the chin, wham, bam, thank you ma'am. Again under here, focusing on darkening and kind of just making sure we get all the little details in. Said, again, this creature I'm not really going to worry too much about putting feathers on. I think I might at the very end add a few Protofeathers, but for now, this is good for anyone at home that wants to learn how to draw a dinosaur, or how Dredfunn approaches drawing the Tyrannosaurus Rex, the mightiest beast that ever beasted the beasts, or so they say. Big nasty fella, that's what he is. I think the big debate for a while there was whether or not these creatures were predators or scavengers. For sure, they would do both, but I think it's been proven now without a doubt that at least some Tyrannosauruses predated on other dinosaurs. But hey, who's going to pass up a free meal, right? Again, when I'm inking, it's just, you know, all these lines that we laid down previously are going to get taken away. So you just sort of highlight in certain areas that you're going to want to darken, sort of go back and forth with it. And I'm going to darken this part here, bring it up there, sort of around here, and again the eyes. Imagine that the creature would have binocular vision. None of the soft tissue survives, or at least very, very little. Things like eyeballs and things like that. You can do these sort of, I don't know what they're called, gravestones, caveman teeth, whatever. They're scales. Kind of add them to the bottom part there. Boom. Alright, that's looking pretty good for the head. We're going to add, again, these lines here. Now, if you want to go in and detail some of the musculature, now's a good time. Like I said, I'm going to sort of detail that, detail this, and we're going to go back up here and highlight that tendon. And again, some spots here where you're going to see some creases and wrinkles in the flesh. You know, you don't always have to put everything in. I mean, if you're going to color some of these things, you can, you know, leave out a lot of this stuff and highlight and detail certain areas with color or lack of color. But for me, this is just going to be an ink and pencil drawing, so I'm not going to worry too much about that. And kind of focusing on time. We're up to 13 minutes, so not bad. Again, calf muscle area, so that's going to kind of have some detail to it. And there we go. That's a good start, or good finish for the ink. Now I'm going to break out the smaller pencil, or sorry, that's my 5. I want to actually use the 01. Oh, wrong one. I got tape on the back of these ones because I use them for detailing buildings and things like that. Anything that I have to use a ruler for, because the edges of these pens, they tend to sort of scuff up, and well, they don't last forever. Anybody that knows about it, anybody that's ever used any of these micron pens knows that they have a finite shelf life. You can only get so many uses out of them. Alright, there we go. Now what I'm going to do is a lot of this head detail is going to be done with some hatching. We're just going to do some single line and maybe bring it back and cross it. Not too much, but certain areas where there'd be a little bit of shade, like in and around these ridges up and around the head. And going to add some scales there. Maybe highlight this area here around the chin. Definitely this area is going to be sort of back under the shade. And I'm going to use this pen to sort of back and forth, kind of like what you would see with the Tyrannosaurus if it didn't have feathers, like some have shown. Some of the artists, paleo artists that I admire and have seen online, they do a lot of wicked detailing in the Tyrannosaurus's, I guess, like the feathers, how they think it would look, and the coloration. I've even drawn T-Rex with some feathers. They're a lot like a cassowaries. But again, for this project, we're just going to focus on showing T-Rex and getting all these details in. Again, these muscles, going to do some hatching to show where it would sort of be shaded. You know, you can do them any way you want. I like to do the single layer horizontally and then come back on a different angle. For this area here, I'm going to just sort of a few lines in, not too much. This whole part is going to sort of be shaded, so we'll add some detail to that, the back of the leg. And then what I'm going to do here is follow these rough lines that I've laid out, sort of like a Spider-Man webbing almost. I'm going to show that it's got the, I don't know what they're called exactly, but it's where the scales sort of change in dimension. A lot of modern birds have something similar on them. There we go. We're going to detail some of this area here. And we're almost done. Maybe shade the underside of this arm too. And shade this side of the leg. Again, how you place these hatching marks really gives you a nice way to shade something and give it some detail that you wouldn't otherwise be able to pull off. So yeah, not too bad. Maybe I'll add some of those Protofeathers now. Protofeathers are just, well, they're like tubes, I guess. They're not really feathers that would give you flight or flight feathers. And they don't know. Like, I mean, maybe young T-Rex had lots of feathers, and as it matured, it would lose them, and it would only have like a fringe running down its tail, sort of like how I'm depicting it, kind of like what you would see in an elephant. Or, you never know, I mean, they could have a wide variety of feathering, you know, that is inspired and dictated by mating and a whole host of other ideas. Alright, so that's pretty good. If you were following along, that's all we got. We just went with some pencils and some ink, and now I'm going to pull out the graphite for my pencil with, I really like these pliable erasers. As you'll notice, I'm not getting any eraser shavings, or whatever you want to call them, bits of eraser everywhere. Boom. And that is how you draw a Tyrannosaurus Rex, the master monster of the Upper Cretaceous. Tyrannosaurus Rex, who wandered the western North America. Anyways, a lot of fun. If you were joining me at home, I hope you guys enjoyed. Don't forget to sign your work. That's always important. You sign it down here. Boom. Dredfunn and 2018. Alright, so that is my T-Rex in pencil and ink. Hope you guys enjoyed this episode of Dredfunn's Draws, and leave me some comments in the comment section down below, and don't forget to like and subscribe. Dredfunn out.
This has been a Dredfunn.com production. Thanks for watching.